Hi, I'm Liz Shackleton. I'm the Asia editor for Deadline, and we're here today in Deadline's Red Sea studio at the Red Sea Film Festival in Jeddah. And I have with me Iram Parveen Bilal, filmmaker, and one of the stars of her film, Gulshan Majid. Welcome both. Thanks for joining us here today.
Thank you. Really appreciate it.
Thank you so much. It's a pleasure.
So, your film, as I understand it, it's based on a true story, something that actually happened, but it's not actually telling that story directly. Could you explain a little bit about that?
So it's inspired by true events, and that's what we say at the beginning of the film. The spark of the film began with slain influencer Kandil Baloch. I think when she was killed, and I couldn't stop thinking about her, even though I had just learned about her a few weeks before she was killed. That is what the entry point was for me into the plot of this film. But because her real life story ended the way it did, I didn't want to glorify an honor killing on screen. And I also felt that her impact was way beyond reducing her to that very unfortunate incident. And I knew that if I did that, the focus would be on that. So the idea was then to take her unapologetic, brave spirit, be inspired by it, and create a fictionalized and a much bigger scope of a story that could then not only give a tribute to her, but also kind of talk about the hundreds in the shadows who retreated further in the shadows when this happened to her. So that's why it was chosen to be an inspiration.
Right. So it's all fictional but inspired by her story.
Absolutely. And there's a tribute. Yeah.
Okay, thanks. And Gulshan, can you tell us a bit about your character? Who do you play?
I basically play like the best friend or the ally to the main lead. And our relationship is basically like we're partners. And she gets the strength and the push that she needs to, I'm always pushing her to be herself and to be out there and, channel her rage and the furious ferocity that she has. But in the end, like my arc completes when I get the strength back from her, and I be myself and I come out like as trans, in the public.
Ah, I see. So you're both sort of inspiring each other through
Yes,
her
absolutely.
journey.
Yeah.
Okay, great. So, what were the challenges of making the film? Now, as I understand it, Gulshan, you're based in Karachi and you're based in the US. Did you make it in Pakistan or the US? How did you go about that and also the casting?
So I grew up in Pakistan, and that is my home. That's where my family lives. I just happened to immigrate to the States, but I still go back and forth. I think shooting in Pakistan is magic. However, getting to shoot, the process of actually rolling is very tough. And that has to do with an interruption and a history of sort of socio-political interruption of cinema, right? Whereas our neighbor India has just celebrated 100 years of uninterrupted cinema, and when the partition happened, our cinema was very strong. But over the course of the years and a few dictatorship, sort of regimes, cinema for some reason, and we know what reason, is almost the first to always be, sort of cancelled. And I think that now there's a certain reclamation happening of cinema in the country. And because of that, we've even had a window where we can, raise private equity, go and shoot in the in the country. So that is how we did it. I mean, it was independently financed and
Out of Pakistan.
out and in Pakistan, but private equity.
Right.
And we
No
went
money
there.
from America.
Like official American government or American institutes, no. These are all diaspora, Pakistani people, or people who loved the idea of the film, people who wanted to support me, past supporters of mine who came back. And the casting was incredible. You don't traditionally have casting directors in Pakistan, but we had a lovely casting director, Sana Jafri, who was joined by Shahzad Ghayas. I want to give them a shout out. And then I know a lot of the industry there. So in my past films, I've cast myself. And casting is very, very important, as you know. So even if you're speaking like a word in the film, I want to make sure I meet you. I have an in-person audition. And so we did a lot of that. We found our lead through that. There was a lot of chemistry leads because the two really had to kind of jive. And then Gulshan had a crazy audition where, I just met him, then asked him to perform an item number for me, which is this like risque, sexy, like dance number. I just wanted to kind of see where his boundaries were and where his, how he was with discomfort.
And what had you done before?
I had my basically training comes from stage. I've been doing theater since 2010, and this is my first feature. This is my debut. and I've done short films, a couple of web series for different OTT platforms, but that was it. And this is the first gig that I got as a feature.
Fantastic. Okay. And then for the lead character, I mean, obviously she goes through a lot. It's not an easy role. So how did you go about finding her?
So I truly believe that in sort of modern Pakistan right now and the industry that no one could have played this better than Faryal Mahmood. She was somebody, I learned about her story. She already was someone who had faced a lot of social media trolling and in the industry outside, sort of had an incredible weight loss journey, was, really kind of dished it back to the trolls. And so the casting director and I still remember this. I was in LA scrolling through Instagram, and the casting director was putting through a list for outreach, and I happened to somehow Instagram pushed her profile to me. And then I went into a rabbit hole, and then I said to her, "What do you think of Faryal Mahmood?" And she called me on WhatsApp immediately, and she said, "I have goosebumps. The first name I wrote on my list just now, 10 minutes ago, was Faryal Mahmood."
Amazing.
And I was like, "Wait, what?" And I didn't know about the story, the backstory of like her journey and sort of trolling and how she's like risen up to trolls and stuff. And so that was the beginning. I met her, and clearly, and she had a lot of fans in terms of her acting in Pakistan. So I knew that she was a great actor, because good actor first, any day. But I knew that she was bold enough to take this role and not be worried about it.
But this theme of social media is very interesting. I mean, I've been watching social media in Pakistan for various reasons recently, and it seems like it's huge there, like it is everywhere. But also, the country has issues in terms of perhaps freedom of speech in some areas. So, like, how has it impacted the society, would you say? Is social media, has it been a force for good, or has it been a negative force for the country?
I would say that as far as freedom of speech, we're seeing that globally. There isn't, clearly, we're seeing in the past few months that freedom of speech doesn't exist as we thought it did, on a global level, not just Pakistan. And it's been shocking to see that. But yes, I think that in Pakistan, why this was important, and with one film you can't do so many things, but this was one of those things I wished I had the time and the canvas space to do more about. I feel like there's a lot of exceptional trolling because of a high level of unemployment, a very high level of sort of younger generation, in terms of the makeup of the population. I forget what the metrics are, but like, I don't know, a certain number of the population is under 35, very high number. And
That's the biggest population on social media. It's 18 to 25 is the biggest number.
so when you couple unemployment with sort of political instability, with a rising inflation as much as like even at times 60% in the last 2 years, so there's a lot of anger and a lot of vitriol, and we've already seen that the social media is an avenue for that. And so there's exceptional trolling, and I felt like with women, and there are a lot of research out there in terms of digital hate crime. And Kandil, the reason it's an interesting situation with Kandil is the honor killing wasn't a traditional honor killing in the sense that her family knew what she was doing. They were profiting, she was financing their life. But the pressure when she kind of got involved with this religious cleric from social media made her brother very nervous, And so, in some level, the question I think that the film asks is like, as a society, was it our responsibility in not just her case, but so many other people?
Yeah.
Like, is it really like a mass movement to cancel and kill people,
Yeah. I just want to touch on your last film because we mentioned freedom of speech, and as I understand it, that film was not allowed to play in Pakistan. I'll Meet You There, which premiered at South by Southwest, and I believe around that time you were named as a director to watch by the Alliance of Women Filmmakers. Can you tell us a bit about the film and its journey?
The film is a film about 3 generations of a Pakistani family and the journey through immigration and the journey of dancing through national identity, dancing through ideology. And dance is a metaphor, but is also like a big piece in the film. And there's a conversation kind of in a footloose style of dance in Islam. Is it allowed? Is it not allowed? But it's a thought-provoking film. But the irony with that film is that film got Muslim Public Affairs Council Award for Courage and Conscience in the U.S. and for its positive portrayal of Muslims, because it also highlights how the mosques a lot of mosques were unfairly targeted in terms of the Patriot Act in terms of, just kind of going into the mosques or surveillance. And so all of these, themes are in the film, but in Pakistan, for some reason, it got banned. And I think that, sometimes it's not necessarily, it's just the idea that you're provoking questioning and thought, even if the end of the film doesn't necessarily take one side or the other. I think that just the idea that you're encouraging people to think is more threatening.
But this film, One of a Kind, is having its world premiere here. So how is that experience, having a premiere at Red Sea?
Because you mentioned I'll Meet You There, it's even more special because I feel like I'm carrying both films because that couldn't have its world premiere, And it has been, I have to give a big shout out to the programming team of Red Sea, because our film celebrates people who fall in between checkboxes, and it itself falls in between checkboxes. So when it comes to the landscape of programming in the festival world, we find that a film like this can be, you have to be a brave programmer to program it. And let's just say that people here were very brave, and it has been such a positive response. We had a world premiere last night. We've both only slept 2 or 3 hours.
Cry before going to sleep.
A very emotional journey, because just getting the film made, our team has such a big heart. It was making a film on an indie budget in Pakistan, where you don't have the economies of scale of an industry, right? So there's so much interruption and disruption, and then political instability, and then this and that. To be able to actually get a film in the can is a miracle.
But it's very encouraging to see this wave, and I'm sure we're going to see a lot more in the future. So fantastic talking to you both. Iram, Gulshan, thank you very much.
Thank you
Thank
so
you,
much
Liz.
for having us.
Thank you, appreciate it.